Welcome back. A fence on the property line, tree branches hanging over the yard, a disagreement over who's responsible for what. Happens all the time. Neighbor disputes, they happen more often than you might think. And how you respond can have legal consequences. And in today's Legal Matters, we are talking about your rights as a homeowner and the mistakes to avoid. Attorney Chad Florin is back with us to talk about this. Okay, everyone has a story about this, right? Maybe a disagreement with the neighbor, trees hanging over, that's my fence, that's your fence. How should you act appropriately to mitigate a scenario like this?
Okay, well, so we all know what they say about assumptions, right?
Yeah,
we
do.
Yes, we do. So let's not make assumptions. And a lot of times these issues arise over where is that property line, right? Who owns what? Where is that property line? And the most definitive way that you can answer that question is to have a land survey done. Is it something that you're going to have to go out of your way to do? Absolutely, but it's going to be a lot more concrete than you just depending on old deeds or looking at old fences, things like that.
Yeah, they have those stakes in the ground to mark your property line. They're there. There's also some interesting laws around like when a property becomes yours, right? If you've maintained a garden for 30 years, things like that. So there's like a lot of peculiar laws and ordinances that people can deal with too.
Oh, I'm sure there's tons of law students out there or even lawyers that still have nightmares over adverse possession, right? And the gist of it is this, is that if someone is utilizing something that you think is your property for over 15 years and they're doing it openly, if they're doing it hostilely, if they've built structures on that property, it's important that you deal with those issues sooner rather than later, because at some point they're going to have a legal claim to title to that area.
Yeah. What, adverse what?
Adverse possession.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the trees, by the way? There are a lot of trees here, some big maples rolling around, a lot of helicopters. What do you do if it's hanging over the property line? Is that your part of your tree if it's on your side of the property?
So wherever the trunk of the tree is, that's who's going to own the tree. Now, trees aren't going to follow these property lines exactly. Sometimes they'll be split in the middle, and then at that point, both the neighbors, they're going to own that equally. And it's always best practice to talk with your neighbor before you do anything, right? Just so you can avoid those arguments. I get it, not everyone's going to get along. But if you got tree branches hanging over your property line, you're allowed to trim those. Just be careful. You can't kill that tree, otherwise you're going to get in trouble.
What if it is hostile? When do you go to an attorney? Because that's an aggressive first move.
Okay, so when things start getting aggressive, get an attorney involved. Let somebody else argue on your behalf.
All right. Chad, this is great advice. We appreciate you joining us. And if you want to revisit any of Chad's advice, you will find this segment and others on KARE11.com. It's on the 4 p.m. news page.